Hey people,
Hey people of the internet.
how we doing?
The interweb. How y'all doing?
Oh, how are you doing, Rach?
I'm good,
Button
guys.
up to the top once
Button
again.
up to the top. Just smart. Smart. I was gonna say smart etiquette.
Smart casual.
Smart casual. Smart casual for the podcast now.
Yeah,
Shirts every week.
I missed the memo.
Yeah. I'm feeling good, feeling energized today, guys. Feel like we've got a great topic for you.
We do.
How are you, Soph?
Feeling good. Just as a bit of insight for the listeners and viewers, today we are grinding hard.
Yeah.
Because we've got 2 podcasts to record, 2 podcasts to edit, all because we've got a big trip happening next Thursday.
Next Thursday, which is usually our working day on the pod, we will be heading down to none other than the West End.
Oh yeah, baby.
Because we are going to see
Les Mis.
Les Mis.
I dreamed a dream of time gone by.
That's the only song I know.
How can I? No, you know.
Oh, do you hear the people sing? Gosh, I'm getting a flashback to
And
karaoke.
you probably know, yeah, Dream to Dream. I feel like there's one more that's quite popular. I can't think of it now. Anyway.
But we're going for Soph's birthday. This was my birthday present to her. I enjoy the theatre, I think. I just can't really remember. Whereas Soph, you do enjoy it, don't you?
I love the theatre.
She loves it.
Big fan of musicals.
I think you said this last week, but me, Soph, and one of our friends had this whole chat last week about things that seem slightly off-brand to your personality that you enjoy or like. And we were like trying to name different things for each other. And I would fully, wholeheartedly say that Soph loving musicals is quite off-brand.
Off-brand in the sense of maybe if you first met me, you wouldn't immediately go, musical lover.
But even knowing you and knowing the music you do like, and I'd say it more being like pop R&B, that kind of thing, like...
But honestly,
it's then quite rogue that because you love to sing it as well. I feel like when we lived together, I would often hear a bit of Wicked or
Liver. Never before has a boy asked for more.
Yep, it's just so like you just wouldn't expect.
But I think it's because I love dancing and I love singing, and to me there's just something that I actually personally don't understand when people don't enjoy the theatre musicals, because for me the feeling of walking out of the theatre after watching top quality actors, singers, dancers, performers
is unmatched.
It's the music, the story. Like I remember like going and seeing like Billy Elliot in the West End maybe when I was like 12, and you're walking out and you're like, Mum, sign me up to tap dancing.
Really?
Like for me it would just be like transformative. I'd walk out and I'd be like in my year 6 leaves assembly, they were like, what do you want to do when you're older? And I said West End performer. That was my answer.
I think I said actor, which I just don't know why. I don't know where that came from. I think at the time I was performing in the school like plays and stuff.
Yeah, it was just for me the theatre is just a whole body experience.
Do you know what I mean though? Like you seeing that all of it's just like, I don't know. I totally get the music and the dance side, so I do understand. I think it's more just this style of music. I'm just not used to like hearing you. I don't know. Like maybe I am used to it, but I wouldn't expect. Oh my gosh! All right. Well, anyways, guys, that's what we're up to next week.
Bit of Annie. Oh, I just love them. I love musicals so much.
This week, we are on a grind, and just a little, teaser, we're actually filming a collab as well this week.
We're filming 3 episodes this week.
Yeah, we're filming one on the weekend with a very special friend. So get ready for that, guys, because it's not often that we have a third little person on the pod.
Third party.
Third time we've had a third person.
They're only small, so they'll fit.
Yeah, they will
fit. They'll fit nicely in
there. Anyways, let's jump into this week's episode. So, guys, we are taking another one from the question box that we put out on our Instagram. So, again, if you don't follow us on Insta, follow us at It's Not Just You Podcast.
Where you can have your say.
You can have your say in the podcast. Yeah, we will often take topics that you guys would like to hear us chat about. So anyways, this was the topic for this week. It's not just you who feels like everyone in the group is closer to each other than they are to you.
And we read this and it felt almost a bit like a dagger to the heart.
Heart went out.
Oof, yes.
Yeah, like
Been there.
that is such a horrible feeling. But I do think maybe particularly as girls and guys, you know, if you're listening,
the 10% of our audience.
We can relate.
Yeah.
Like if at some point you've been in a friendship group, there's always that fear, isn't there, about the different proximities of friendships in the group and whether you're as liked as others and all the dynamics that come with that. And guys, we're going to dig in today.
We really are.
We're going in.
We're
going in so hard.
I mean, it kind of got us thinking about just generally the dynamics within friendship groups. And again, particularly with girls, where this is one thing that maybe people feel of people being close to each other than they are to you. But I think even within that, outside of that, there's so many other little dynamics and nuances and things that can just crop up that you maybe wouldn't necessarily in the moment clearly articulate.
Yeah.
But retrospectively and like for us reflecting, it's just all these little things that can just make you feel a little bit icky.
Yeah.
Or you were talking about the kind of...
Yes. Well, I was saying it is fascinating because when you think, or when I, for me, think about girl friendship groups that I've been in throughout my life, I would basically resonate with this feeling of almost panic at times where essentially you find yourself in a friendship group full of girls or you know, it's a mixed friendship group, whatever. But I at times have almost felt like this panic, like as if I'm like paddling, like trying to keep my head above water, like almost going against a current to like keep up with what's happening in the friendship group, the dynamics in the friendship group, the closeness between different friends, like almost essentially, I guess, feeling like I'm in a bit of a losing battle of like trying to maintain friendships and trying to maintain being close with everyone and as close with everyone as everyone else is so that I'm not like left behind.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think part of that is because everyone's doing that. Often I feel like everyone's doing that. People aren't then taking care of each other because you almost feel like you're in some weird competition that no one's named of who knows the most people the best and who spends the most time with people in the group. So I think that's what creates that feeling of panic because there's constant like subtle flexing of like, do you know what I mean? It's not like building up and it's not like, oh, actually like, let's make people feel included. Oh yeah, you weren't here for that thing, but I'm going to catch you up in like a sincere, genuine way. Not like so you weren't here, so you missed out. So I better tell you what happened. Like, do you know what I mean? It's, I think everyone's just sometimes on a one track mind of, I've got to look out for myself and put myself forward and make sure I'm seen and known and liked by everyone. That's where people just don't feel cared for. Mm-hmm. That's the only way I can put it is like, you're looking forward and not like side to side.
And what I will say is like the way we're describing this now is obviously very explicit. And usually I would say these kind of things are so much more subtle. Like even like you just said, the subtle flexing. And we were talking earlier about like the subtle flexes that can like happen within a group of girlfriends. And it is actually just, it's just horrible, isn't it? Yeah. Like even if you don't consciously realize you're doing it, almost everyone is all the time trying to assert some level of like, oh, I know this person like better, or like, oh, I've been really deep with this person, or oh, this thing happened, and like the repercussion of that is almost like flexing that you've got a deeper level of friendship than someone else may have with that person in the group.
Yeah, I think it's not always like, I don't think people are like doing it on purpose all the time. I think it's just sometimes with girl friendships where they can get intense and weird, it's almost survival mechanism activated. Like,
so
so
weird.
we were chatting about just like simple things, which again almost sound like nothing, but there's almost an underlying feeling beneath it of, you know, you're sat round and all the girls are there, or you're having dinner or drinks or whatever, and you know, one person's like, oh, girls, like, you know how I had that meeting at work last week, and everyone's like, yeah, and you're just sat there thinking, meeting at work? I literally have no idea what they're even talking about, and they're like, yeah, so got the job promotion, and they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, oh, it's been so great to journey this with you for the past month, and you're just like, what the frick is everyone talking about? Like, and you're either there, like, you either have to kind of pretend like, yeah, the meeting at work, and you're like just looking around like, how does everyone know about this apart from me? Or you just back it and go, what? And they're like, what? You don't, I thought I told you. And you're like, you never told me that.
And then it's like everyone kind of turning and being like, oh, you didn't know. Oh, like quickly fill you in. And again, like obviously in this example, like slightly exaggerating it, but I feel like that kind of thing does happen all the time.
Yeah. And I think for me, sometimes that will happen and you kind of just go, don't care, brush it off. But I know for me, I've had times where it has led me down a bit of a thought tunnel of, oh, so like, is this person like texting all the people in the group apart from me? Like, are they keeping in contact more? Are they in more regular communication and I'm not? Should I initiate that with that person? Do I need to like add them to the list of people I text about things so that they'll text me about things and then I can be in the loop? And then when I go to the girls thing next time, I've known the thing that happened a month ago. And you're like, it's just exhausting. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think, yeah, like I said, sometimes you're not bothered, but then other times you can suddenly think, well, why don't I know?
Yeah.
Like, why have I been the one that's not in the loop? Yeah. Then there's kind of other things then or other ways that it can be these kind of underlying subtle nods to like, I know and I know more about this person than you have. Let's say our friend Jess, I can't think of another name. I don't have really many friends called Jess. Anyway, but let's say
your housemate.
let's say, oh, Jess. Jess has like been off at work this week, and then the person that you're telling, Molly, is like, I know.
Yeah.
She's already told me I know.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah.
I was just saying this because I'm about to tell you something about that and I didn't know if you knew. It's like, no, I already know.
Yeah.
She's already texted me. She already told me. And you're like, okay.
And it's just this constant, like, I think that's what we're getting at by the like underlying, really subtle, almost competition of like, oh, just so you know, they had already told me that.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm saying it in a way that's over dramatic. I've not actually got friends that go, yeah, I know. I'm not saying that, but it is just like, oh yeah. Like they told me last week.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. Like,
and it's like
a little bit of added bonus information in there. Like didn't really ask for it, but okay.
But do you know what's so funny? I think the issue is because that culture, I guess, gets created, everyone then feels like they need to do it all the time. Whereas like if that just wasn't a thing and like you didn't feel the need to kind of, you know, talk about other relationships or fill people in with that information, like I just don't think people would do it. But it's like when that culture becomes a thing like within your friends, that then it's like you feel like you do need to say that to clarify, or do you know what I mean? Like
yeah because like you said at the start, you're in this kind of rat race.
Yeah.
So it's like if I don't engage, then you feel like you're being left behind.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it kind of feels like the only way to this sounds dramatic, but sometimes it feels like the only way to survive in the group is to engage in that type of interacting with each other and
letting people know that you have your own like close relationships with people. Yeah. And I think like another way I guess I've like can see this play out is also the kind of individual hanging out like in comparison to the group hangs, where obviously the reality is that as a group you're not able to meet and hang out all the time that any of you would see each other. Like there's no way that, you know, that number of people can like coordinate diaries. Also, that would just be a bit weird, isn't it? Like,
because
it's like
it's really nice to hang out with people
exactly.
one-on-one. And, like you do just have different conversations one-on-one that you would to what you'd have in a big group.
But then like almost the stress that comes with that of hearing, like I remember at school, like, and I think this is just so common, isn't it? Like the feeling of being left out or not included, where it's like you would hear that two people in the friendship group were meeting up, or maybe they were going on a trip at the weekend or something, and you can't help yourself but like want to know more information and want to like ask about it and hear what they're doing, and like, you know, you're almost trying to work out like what that's gonna look like and whether they're gonna have loads of great chats and all this kind of thing, at the expense of essentially your like
peace of mind.
Like, and I think that's quite common anyway with insecurity, where you may be feeling insecure about something and therefore you almost want to know all the details, even though it's counterproductive because it just makes you feel more insecure. But like that thing of where two people are hanging out and there's another person in the group going, oh, so like when was that? Oh, what did you do? Like what happened? Like, and all these kind of questions.
How long were you with each other?
Yeah.
What did you talk about? And I have been this person, let me tell you. I've been this person who's like, so did you like go deep, or like really, like what kind of level? Surface level deep, really deep? Length of time we're talking?
Oh,
2,
you're in
3,
McDonald's? Oh, that's not as nice as going
hours.
for a proper meal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Walk and food. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
Cinema. Oh, so you didn't talk then?
Cinema, great. No talking.
No, don't.
Dinner and drinks.
I actually can't.
And what's the kind of frequency of this? Are we talking weekly hangs, bi-weekly, monthly? Oh, okay, you're doing this quite regularly. Interesting. Okay. Just panicking inside going, oh,
no.
I've not seen him in 2 months.
No.
Text, hey, just realised we haven't seen each other in ages. We should get a date and hang.
And it's just like this constant, just I guess fueling of insecurity, when actually I think over the years I, like, for one, have learned actually in those moments, even though everything in you is screaming to know those details, because like you almost want to, I don't even know, I guess just.
I think basically sometimes I know for me it's like you're hoping that it's gonna affirm like, we've not seen each other in 3 months. You're thinking, brilliant, okay. Like you're hoping it will be like, oh, we only hung out for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And like, oh, like,
you're hoping it's gonna be bad, essentially.
Yeah, basically. But then I guess that's not always how it goes. It's like, oh no, we like hung out for ages and it was really nice. We had a really deep chat. And like, oh,
great. Yeah. So it's like, I think I've learned actually you just don't need to know everything. I don't think it's normal to know everything. And like, this is a side note, but social media is so unhelpful in that. Like, it's not, I don't think we were created to know the details of what was happening in everyone's life all the time. I'm not even going to go into it, but Find My Friends, I think, again, is like,
we're very anti over here.
Yeah, it's like, why on earth do you need to know where people are all the time? Anyway, different story. Like, there are sometimes valid reasons, but I'm saying in the context,
like safety.
Yeah, in the context of friends and where it is unhelpful for you mentally, I don't know why you'd have it, but anyway. We don't need to know all these things. Like, they just upset us.
Yeah,
so
they
it's
just
like,
draw us into comparison.
Yeah.
Comparison. And they draw me into feeling lack of contentment over my own life and my own friendships, which more often than not are in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just gone down this whole route of comparing and feeling all this lack of, oh, I'm not doing that and I'm not with that person, when it's like, yeah, but actually I was with that other person and we had a really nice time. Or I was at home and I had a really relaxing evening and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. And that's what's interesting with comparison, isn't it? It always makes you feel like lacking, and it steals gratitude away from you so that you can't see, oh, but okay, I may not have hung out with that individual for 4 hours, but I got to see this other friend who I love a lot. And suddenly that's like taken away when it's like, oh, but I missed out on that hang. And it's like, you can't have every hangout.
You can't
like,
do it all.
You can't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like maybe you guys are listening to this like, sorry, you guys are just deeping like friendships so hard and I can't relate to any of these dynamics. But I feel like the likelihood is maybe if you can.
Yeah.
Or they're just not spoken about, which is the point of our podcast, to speak about the things that aren't. So
I just want to throw in one more.
Yeah.
Just around, and again, could just be me, but hey, we'll throw it out there and see if anyone else relates. Just the thing of being in a friendship group, and like we said, that there's individual friendships within the group. People hang out separately from just being in the group. But sometimes then when you come together, maybe seeing people interact with other people in the group in ways that they wouldn't interact with you, or let's say you know them in one sense, and the way, you know, if you're in a one-on-one hang, it will look a certain way, and maybe you'll do certain things or talk to each other in a certain way or whatever. And then you see them with so-and-so in the group, and I don't want to go as far as to say they're almost like a different person, but they're interacting with them in a very different way to what they'd maybe interact with you. And I know in the past I found that hard because, again, you go into the whole comparison thing of, oh, well, does that mean they like them more than me? Or, oh, they're like really laughing with that person. We've never really laughed like that. Or,
Yeah. Wait, I didn't know you had a belly laugh.
yeah, and you're like, I never heard you laugh like that. Or like, oh, you're like really, I don't know, like you have this weird kind, like you loved giving each other hugs, and we've never really hugged. Like, it feels quite weird, but almost just, I know I've kind of gone down that route of comparison, looking at other people's friendships in comparison to my friendship with them. And just, yeah, again, just taking away from the joy of friendship and my friendship with that person, which is individual and can't be compared to anyone, because the reality is that everyone draws out different parts of me. All my friends draw out different parts of me, and I will draw out different parts of that person, but so will you, and so will the other person in the group and the other person in the group. So it's actually completely unrealistic for me to think that one person is going to act exactly the same as they do with me as they are with another person,
100%,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, do you want to read out that quote?
Yeah. My friend Ash, shout out to Ash, he sent me this quote from a book that he was reading. But it says, in each of my friendships, there is something that only some other friend can fully bring out. By myself, I am not large enough to call the whole man into activity. Which essentially is saying, firstly, on our own, we're never going to see the fullness of who we are, because we need people around us to draw out different parts of us. And each person will do that in a different way. But if that's true for us, then that's true for everyone else as well. So you will draw out a different part of me that someone else wouldn't, but then they'll draw out a different part of me that you couldn't. So you just really can't compare these things, because that is like the beauty of community and having different friendships in different life stages, different seasons, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think that is literally so important to remember, because even like the crux of this question that got sent in about, you know, everyone seems closer to each other than they do to me, I think is that in essence of like everyone's friendships just look different, and you don't want to mistake difference for like lack of proximity to that person, like in terms of actually just because a friendship looks different and they may be laughing more or hugging more doesn't even mean like that there's a different level of depth.
no,
Do you know what I mean? It's just a different expression of love and friendship. So yeah, I think in those moments of comparison, it is just thinking like, there's no point comparing, because we're literally different individuals and we're unique and have unique relationships. So like, it's remembering that.
Yeah. But it's like, people are so individual, aren't they? So it's like my individualness mixed with your individualness creates a new individualness.
Yeah.
And that's our friendship.
Yeah.
And then my individualness mixed with my other friend's individualness, that makes do you know what I mean? So there's nothing that's gonna equate to the same thing. And I think, like we were saying about the whole thing of people seeming closer than they are with each other than to you, I do often think a lot of it is just our perception and our thoughts sometimes, I think, running away with us, going, oh, I feel everyone's definitely hanging out all the time without me or with each other, and I'm not included, and they're closer than they are. And it's like, I don't think they are often.
But also our thoughts go to the extreme, like you say, of you hear that two people are hanging out and you're like, they must have had some like unreal next level chats in that hang. And it's like, you have absolutely no idea what they spoke about. It could have been the most chill thing ever. Yet in your mind, you've made it into something that maybe it wasn't. And again, it's not to like put that down, but it's just like you're not there. And like,
yeah, but also like even if they had, it doesn't take away from the depth of your friendship.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, and this is what I think my mind's been stuck in this place of thinking that someone has a certain amount of love that they can give. And so then as soon as it starts getting divided out to different people, I'm going to get less, which is just not a good way at all to think about it. Like, oh, Rach, if you have 10 friends, then every friend's getting like a tenth of you.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
No.
So then you think, oh, if you've got this other friend or a new friend, then I'm going to get less because you're having those deep chats, so I'm not going to get the deep. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think sometimes our brains do these weird equations with love of trying to measure it and trying to quantify it. And I just think love is so vast and big and complicated and deep. You can't do maths equations with it. You can't like divide it up or measure it or try and work it out. It's just love.
It's just love, man. I feel like we ended. Oh no, I was gonna say, what was that podcast we ended singing? Where is the love? Can't remember, but we don't need to do it. Anyway, to conclude, I guess we hope that this episode made you feel seen in some of these dynamics that occur. But I guess we would just say you can't be equally close with everyone in a friendship group. You just can't. You can't be best friends with everyone. There's going to be people that you are closer to and connect with, and that's okay. And actually learning to like try and be content with that and grateful for that is ultimately, I think, what goes against comparison and insecurity, because it's like, I'm just really grateful for the friendships that I have and the relationships I have, and that's enough. I don't need more. Like,
but also it's like flipping it of, if you can reflect on your own friendships and go, am I equally close with everyone in this group? No. And there are particular people that I do connect with more or I feel closer to. And so if that's your reality, then why would it not be the reality for everyone else? Do you know what I mean? Almost
so
like
true.
You can't have, I guess, one rule for yourself and then one rule for everyone else. It's like, it's
no
cool.
one knows everyone. Like,
we can all
inside
just
out.
have our own friendships and then enjoy being together.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to kind of end on, is that friendships are such a gift and they are such an amazing part of life and they're to be enjoyed. And I think so often we miss out on the joy and the goodness of friendships because we're getting bogged down in comparison, in jealousy, in competitiveness. And if we can push past those things and not feed into those, I guess, more negative but sometimes very real emotions, then we can step into the enjoyment that friendships can give us.
Amen, sister. And on that beautiful note, guys, hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you in next week's episode.
We will do. Bye, everyone.
Ta-da!